So if you're a bit of musical equipment or an instrument, it's not the most fun. So hello and welcome to the vlog. It is the week after camps. What we're going to get into today is a little bit of what has to happen after camp. Some of you will know most of the musical equipment that's used at summer camps at Emmett Baraka comes back with me here to Yaitsa, and I make sure it's all in good working order. So here in the studio we've got guitars that need cleaning up. We've got a keyboard that possibly has a dodgy key. Bass guitar almost certainly in need of new strings now. And then over here we have a whole bunch more PA equipment. We've got boxes of cables there. That sort of stuff is going to need sorting out. And then we've got the mixing desk that got loads and loads of dust on it, so we want to make sure that's all cleaned up. So pulling this out of the box, it doesn't actually look as bad as I thought it would. That doesn't mean it looks good either though. Camp for us is a very, very unforgiving environment for musical equipment. All the equipment that gets set up is set up under a roof, but in an open-sided kind of shed, and that means that there's a lot of dust that flies around. If there's rain, there's a lot of moisture that flies around, and although we take care to protect stuff as much as we can, stuff just gets dusty and dirty and moist. Stuff sitting out in the heat of the day is getting very, very hot, and then it's probably getting cold at night. So if you're a bit of musical equipment or an instrument, it's not the most fun in the world to be out in that environment. And so things suffer wear and tear. Can't decide if that C sharp sounds dodgy or not. Probably doesn't. I think that's fine. So I think stagecraft is a really important thing to teach people who are young musicians. By that I mean it's not just how you play your instrument, but how do you play your instrument on stage? What do you need to do on stage to get a really good sound? One of the things I would always say is when you take your guitar to plug it in, put your cable through your strap like that, plug it in so that if you stand on your cable, it doesn't pull the cable out the guitar or snap the cable or whatever. I had something that has never happened to me in 30 years of playing on stage happen to me this week at camp. I stood on the cable and I literally pulled the cable out of the jack. Before camps I was thinking I need to buy some slightly better cables. I want some better ones for here in the studio. For sure now, getting some better quality cables. Those weren't cheap, but they weren't, you know, they were cheaper probably than I should have bought. Lesson learned, we'll buy more expensive cables next time. I restrung this guitar at some point about halfway through camps. It needs another restring now. I don't know if you can see that. Some very dead strings on here now. That's one of the things. It's nobody's fault, but some people's body oils don't agree with guitar strings. I'm someone who's very fortunate. I can play guitars for quite a while. My hands are not overly corrosive, but yeah, some people it's just like they touch a guitar and a string start corroding. And yeah, you can buy coated strings, but they cost a lot more. And if people are going to snap your strings, then that's not really worth it. So these are just regular old acoustic guitar strings on, because I knew a bunch of people were going to be playing this, and I knew that some of them were less experienced and more prone to string breaking. But yeah, it came back with all its strings, but they need changing anyway. So this is my acoustic that went to camp. Again, this has slightly better strings on it, still needs a new set. Obviously my Strat here that I played a lot at camp, also going to need new strings. The other electric guitar, the SG, went, yeah, it's also going to need new strings. This hardly got played, but it went in and out of the combi every day, and hot and cold and moist and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so we're not going to do strings today. That's something for another day, but more work to be done. Bass guitars are something that you don't necessarily change the strings on all that often, depending on what type of bass tone you want. These ones I thought could have done with changing maybe before camp. I left them. We'll see. We might just give these a thorough clean up they are sticky. But this base is the one I teach on with Novi Most stuff here in Yaitse. It's not getting a lot of like really top end playing. I'm not recording it or anything, so maybe we won't restring it. We'll hold out because I don't know. It's borderline. Spare strings that went to camp. Time for them to put to use. So Buditsa, my drum pad, got used when I was playing drums at kids camp. Mostly I was playing the flick sticks, the bright yellow ones, and also my little Varta 7As there. They were nice on this. Yeah, it's nice and clean. Don't need to do anything with that. So we have a whole load of microphones that went with us to camp, but all the mics every morning, they get put out, every night they get taken away. Because of that, they're pretty clean. So microphones are in their boxes, they're just going to go back where they go. What remains really is boxes of cables. All these cables are in not such a bad state because we did clean them before we put them away. Got another box here which is cables, and also buried in that there's lots of power leads and DI boxes and stuff like that. More cables here and here. Got halogen lights, not halogen lights, LED spotlights and a spare projector. This is an important bag right here. In here we have 4 sets of fairy lights that did not get used, but loads and loads of song sheets that did, and they are really important. So it's the week after camp, and I have this thing when I get exhausted that sometimes when you want to recover, you've got to allow yourself to fully before you can come back up again. And this downward bit to really let the tiredness come out is going on a lot longer than I expected, but we will allow it to happen. I'm not going to fight it because I know that for recovery it's important to be tired to be less tired. So that's probably it for me for today. I'm going to come back tomorrow and finish up this tidying up, but I'm happy with what I've done so far. So that's it for this week's vlog. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little behind the scenes glimpse into looking after instruments and equipment. Do give us a big thumbs up for the post camp cleanup. Do leave a comment or question if you want to know more, and do remember that together we do adventure. We'll see you next time.